My name is James. Let me take you back to 1987, when I was only 22 years old. At the time, I was employed at an auto parts store in Rush City, Minnesota. Although I now reside elsewhere, Rush City remains a charming, quiet town situated approximately an hour's north drive of the Twin Cities Metro. Following a lengthy day, I was on the verge of closing shop. I found myself alone since my coworker had just left to go home. Before tackling the last closing tasks, I stepped outside to the front of the store for a smoke. The midwinter night was bitterly cold, and as many might be aware, Minnesota's frigid temperatures during these months can be quite unbearable. Outside shivering and puffing on my cigarette, the entire neighborhood suddenly experienced a power outage. The once well-lit streets turned to darkness. Puzzled, I wondered, what the hell is going on? Quickly stubbing out my cigarette, I made my way indoors. To my relief, the power came back, allowing me to complete my closing responsibilities with the aid of the restored light. Returning to work the next day, I engaged in conversation with a coworker who had worked the morning shift. He shared that he had been hearing odd noises, making it seem like someone was present in the store despite being empty. I recounted the power outage incident from the previous night, and with genuine interest, he nodded, punched out, and wished me good luck. A few hours passed, and I found myself in the back room, savoring a sandwich I had prepared with a can of soda. As I took a bite, the radio that was tuned into a rock station started to fizzle out as the lights began to slightly flicker. I put down my sandwich. I glanced up momentarily to examine, and then I felt the chilling breeze pass through, giving me a shiver. Checking my surroundings, I looked to see if the door leading outside had opened, but it was firmly closed. Then, I caught a whisper just behind my ear. Startled, I jolted upright and glanced behind me. The cold sensation disappeared, and no one was there. Shortly after, Bob, my coworker for the night, entered the back room. I shared with him the unusual experience I had, and he too, admitting to feeling strange occurrences. We discussed our shared encounters while concluding my meal and then carried out our shift. Later that night, just a couple hours before closing, I was busy kneeling down organizing shelves. From the corner of my eye, I perceived what was first thought as a customer walking past the aisle. Rising to my feet for a better view, I found that no one was there. Given that I hadn't heard anyone enter, the situation struck me as odd. I strolled around the store, double-checking to ensure that there were no customers around. "Hello?" I asked aloud as I walked the store. "James? Everything okay?" Bob asked. "Yeah, just thought I saw a customer," I replied. After Bob left for the night, I headed outside for my usual pre-closing cigarette break. As I smoked, my eyes wandered across the neighborhood. There wasn't a whole lot to observe, but during that particular time, my attention was drawn to the hotel, situated diagonally across the street. Renowned for its history, the Grant House Hotel remains a famous landmark in town, still standing today. While I looked at the hotel, I noticed someone standing in one of the windows, staring straight at me. I squinted to be sure. They were indeed focused on me. I offered a small wave, but the individual at the window didn't respond, just remained there motionless. Then, I caught some faint crashing sounds coming from within the store. I promptly put out my smoke and returned inside to find a display of various windshield wipers had tumbled over. Notably, there was movement in the back of the store. "Hello? Is someone there? Bob?" I called out, but the store responded with an unsettling silence. Walking back to the window, I checked to see if the person was still watching. Indeed, they maintained the same posture and gaze, despite the difficulty in seeing it clearly. It seemed they had raised their hand in a wave. The mysterious figure then shifted away from the window. As it dissipated, the streetlights outside, along with those in the store, began to flicker simultaneously. I then again found myself in complete darkness as the power once again went out. Within just moments, a couple emerged from the hotel. I went back outside of the eerie, dark store and walked across the street to join and ask them if they had any insights into what was going on. Much like me, they were baffled. It was the second night that the power had now abruptly went out. The couple shared their encounters with odd phenomena inside the hotel during the late evening. I explained that I too had encountered similar strange occurrences. The person I was speaking to recounted an incident where both he and his companion believed they had seen a ghost-like figure inside the hall of the hotel, manifesting just as they entered and then disappearing through a door. As he described this, I could sense the eerie discomfort his wife experienced, evident in the look of her face. A few others joined the commotion. I offered others a smoke and they thankfully accepted. We engaged in conversation, exchanging stories until the cold forced us back inside. I questioned if anyone had been on the second floor, waving down at me, but none of them had. It crossed my mind if the spectral figure witnessed by the hotel guest might be the same one I seen earlier. I looked back up to the window. Nothing was there. Expressing gratitude to the small group for their company, I recognized the night's chill was soaking in. Making my returning to the dark store, I aimed to finalize the closing procedures as soon as possible so I could go home. On my way back, I couldn't shake the intensely ominous vibe that caught my attention as I stood in the middle of the intersection. I paused to observe the prevailing darkness. The stars radiated brightly in the cold, cloudless night sky. Arriving at the store, I opened the door and was met with the familiar sight of a black void. Stepping forward and entering, I sparked my lighter to cast some light as I sought out a flashlight. Heading towards the register, I was alarmed by the sound of footsteps within the dark aisles. Pausing for a moment, I took the chance to listen intently, and soon I caught the sound of an old woman's voice emanating from a hidden aisle. With caution, and while my heart was racing, I slowly made my way towards that aisle. "Is someone there?" I asked. Once again, the voice responded, murmuring, "What are these here, sir?" "I'm sorry, but we're closed," I declared as I approached the aisle. As I peered down the aisle with limited light available, and to my worst nightmare, I spotted a partially transparent elderly woman, adorned in traditional clothing, gazing directly at me. My eyes widened, and my mouth fell open. Then, my flame went out. Terrified and trying to reignite my lighter, I heard the voice returning, echoing the words, "What is this here, sir?" Footsteps started making their way to me. I started moving towards the window that did give out some light as I continued to light my lighter. Just as I flicked the lighter back on, a sudden burst of frigid air swept past me, accompanied by ghostly chants and flickering lights. In a matter of seconds, the eerie chants dissipated as the power restored, bringing the lights back on. The radio also resumed playing the local rock station. Placing the lighter on the counter, I raised my hands to shield my face, attempting to reset myself mentally after the surreal encounter. "Are you kidding me?" I thought. Still highly on edge, I walked through the store. There was no one in sight, and all the strange occurrences now absent. I was just left with the feeling of anxiety. Swiftly completing my task to make a quick exit, I focused on finishing what was necessary to go home. The rest of the night proceeded smoothly to my relief, though I stayed on high alert. Quickening my tasks, I shut off the radio, shut off the lights, and secured locking up the store. While leaving and walking home, I found myself compelled to glance again at the hotel, particularly that window I saw the figure in earlier. Fortunately, everything seemed normal, and it was reassuring to see the street lamps and the home lights back on. I took a deep breath with a quick shiver and made my way home. The work days after were back to normal. The next couple days were filled with stories from those who had experiences. I joined with mine. I remained working at the store for a few more months, and although nothing peculiar happened, the constant thought of the power going out and the reappearance of the ghostly woman persisted in the back of my mind. The vivid recollection of that cold face, barely visible in the darkness, and the unsettling gaze with those blank black eyes remains etched in my memory.